Hello students and welcome to the e-learning program initiated by Shri Gyanmanjari Vidyapith for the students of Standard 10, in which we are learning the subject of social science. Students, in the previous two lectures we started with chapter number 11, that is India, Water Resources. Let us take a quick recap of what we learned in the previous two lectures for this chapter. We learned that water is a natural as well as it's a limited resource. That means wherever it's available in plenty, but many places water is available with scarcity. And of course, for whatever is living on earth, water is needed. So life cannot be imagined without water. So this is to show the importance of water in our life, especially in our country which we live. Then one of the main thing about water is it does not have any alternative. That means there is no option for water. Instead of water, you cannot use anything. Prosperity of each and every nation depends on how much water it uses for agriculture, because agriculture is used to feed the population. Apart from agriculture, drinking water, domestic uses, industrial areas, water is used in plenty. So without water, a life will come to a standstill. Now we are talking about sources of water. Then there are three sources of water: rainwater, surface water, and groundwater. Rainwater is considered as the original source of water on earth and the primary source of water on earth, because both the secondary, that is surface water, and underground water, it exists because rain comes. So rain is the primary source as well as the original source of water on earth. Rivers, lakes, streams, they are considered as secondary source of water. Surface water, whatever form of water that we find on the surface of the earth, whether it is river, lake, stream, seas, oceans, all of that, that is surface water. It can be both saline as well as fresh water. Groundwater, definition as per definition, water which is stored under the ground, located under the ground, that is earth, and must be pumped out. Then that sort of water is called groundwater. Groundwater has lots of importance in our life, because when rain doesn't come, that means we do not have the original source of water or the primary source of water. Sometimes rain comes late or it comes quite less as per expectation. Rain doesn't happen, then there is scarcity of water. Surface water, till we use it, then that is also over. Then for us, the last resource for water is the groundwater. So it has a lots of importance. In northern India, at least 42% of groundwater is available. Southern India, very less groundwater is used, because they use lots of surface water, plus they have heavy rain. So time and again they replenish their ponds, and thus they have irrigation for drinking purpose, because lots of rain is there. So storage of water is also there, and they have lots of water. So they have less usage, plus because it's a mountainous terrain and it's a plateau, so rocky surfaces below the ground, and that does not allow water to store in huge quantity. Biggest use of groundwater is irrigation, that we learn. Irrigation, we are an agrarian country, so 84% of water that is used in India is used for irrigation. Irrigation activities, they need lots of water. Example is that 1500 liters of water is needed for growing 1 kg of wheat, and there are other agricultural products which use more water than that. Even in the ancient times, we find that canals were built across river Kaveri in 2nd century, so that water can reach to far off and interior places where there is scarcity of water. Coming to the modern times, during the British era, 1882, Eastern Yamuna Canal was built in Uttar Pradesh. Methods of irrigation, wells and tube wells comes first. Maximum that is used, then comes canals, where intricate and quite complex network of rivers and canals are available there. Canals are used, but canals are used only where they are available. Second ponds are used in, third ponds are used in eastern part of India and the southern part of India. Canal irrigation, as we discussed, that is practiced heavily in Satluj area, whole of the Indo-Gangetic area where canal network is there, canals are used. Agriculture in South India, as we discussed, done through ponds. Now let us go ahead with today's lecture. Now, multi-purpose projects that we learnt. Now let us just take a quick recap of what we learned in the second lecture. Multi-purpose project, that's a project that is utilized for multiple purposes. That's called a multi-purpose project, because irrigation can be done, the water that is collected in the dam or the reservoir, hydropower is generated, water supply for drinking, for industrial use, for domestic use, for agriculture, for all. Flood control is the one of the main reason for which the dam is made, navigation, etc. So lots of multiple use of that particular reservoir or dam that we have made. India's physiography is such that there are lots of big rivers in India, so if proper dams are built, and if there is a proper canal network going around the country in a proper grid network, then none of our towns, villages, cities will be without water and will be having plenty of water, because rainfalls gathers in the river and this flows off to the sea without giving us much use of that. As we discussed, multi-purpose dam, they are basically built for numerous reasons. One of the main reasons is to control the flood in that particular river, so that each and every flood causes damage to man and material and the nature. Huge devastation is caused. To stop that, building dams is quite a necessity. Then prevention of soil erosion is one of the reasons. Drinking water, irrigation, navigation, all those things can be done. Industries can be given water. Internal water transportation can be done. Entertainment can be, recreational activities can be done. The reservoir fishing activities can be done. Then these are all the multi-purpose projects that are made in India. We have discussed all of them. We have also discussed about the location of these dams earlier. Let us see them still one more time, so that here you can see Bhakra Namgal Dam over here. Over Bhakra and Nangal, two dams are made in succession over the Satluj River. Chambal Valley project is made over the river Chambal. Rana Pratap Sagar Dam, Gujarat Dharoi Dam, Kadana Vanakburi Dam, and Narmada Dam over here. In Jharkhand we can see Damodar and Kosi dams, river valley projects that are made. Coming to the southern areas, Tungabhadra is made over river Tungabhadra, which falls in Karnataka. Same way Krishna Sagar Dam, Kaveri River, it's built over here in Karnataka. In Tamil Nadu we have Grand Aniket Canal over there, and Nagarjuna project, one of the largest projects in South India. It's made over Krishna River. Hirakud project is made over Mahanadi River in Orissa. So in this way we discussed previous 2 lectures that were conducted for this particular chapter. Now we go ahead with our today's lecture. We already took a look. Now, distribution of area under irrigation. Now, what do we understand by distribution of area under irrigation? For example, post-independence, that means just after independence, India's area under irrigation has increased 4 times. Land was available, but proper use of land was not being done. Lots of jungle area cleared, lots of rocky area surfaces cleared, and agriculture started over there. Lots of semi-arid areas, dry areas were converted into green zones. So in that way, the area under irrigation we were able to expand. For example, coastal districts of Andhra Pradesh, delta regions of Godavari, Krishna River, we are talking about the south, Mahanadi Delta in Orissa, Kaveri Delta in Tamil Nadu. Now these are the natural places where farmers, they grow crop. Because that's a delta, the land keeps changing according to the volume of the water and the silt that is deposited. Land keeps changing. Yes, sometimes the land gets submerged in the water, sometimes because of lots of silt gathering, it makes a heap and a huge part of land is available for quite a long time. So people can use that to grow crops. Apart from that, the nearby delta areas, the adjoining areas also, it's quite rich and fertile soil is available. So these are the natural areas which come under irrigation and they keep on shifting. Then coming to Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh, the Uttar Pradesh which is towards Delhi. These are fixed areas. These are fixed areas and individual farms are there, quite a lot of huge farms are there, fields are there. So these people, they were able to grow more amount of production of wheat, and of course the south area grew more amount of rice after independence, because then the government, we had Indian government, earlier it was British rule and they did not focus much on these issues, and the conditions of the farmers was quite pathetic. Freedom movement was going on. All these activities, they hampered the production activities for grain and lots of other agricultural products. Post independence, now we are free, so government gave lots of relaxation to the farmers, lots of opportunities to farmers. New areas were opened up where farmers can take loan, etc. So in this way, these are the regions which are intensively irrigated. In India, the area under irrigation and irrigation facilities greatly vary from state to state. That is very, very true. Area under irrigation, if you are talking about Rajasthan, then 70%, 60-70% of that is desertic region where if you sow seeds and if the bajra comes up, then it's okay, otherwise just forget it. So in that way, irrigation land, area under irrigation is quite less in Rajasthan. The same thing happens with Mizoram, which receives very heavy rainfall throughout the year. So area under irrigation will not be there, and because that's a hilly area, you cannot irrigate those hilly areas, you have to depend on rain. So that area is not under irrigation. Same way, lots of areas in Rajasthan, they are not under irrigation. But we come to Punjab, we come to Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, say Maharashtra. These are areas where mostly the farmers are dependent on monsoon. After monsoon, if they want to take any crop, they face difficulty because irrigation facility is not there. So now if irrigation facilities are increased, what is the meaning of irrigation facilities? That means canals coming out directly from the rivers and going to the interior parts so that the flow of the river, the flow can be reduced and water can be diverted and it can be used maximally for irrigation. Or dams are being built and that will provide canals and water to the irrigation. So that is called irrigation facility. Plus, if we say that just after independence, it was not possible all over India to have pumps for wells and tube wells and all that, because electricity did not reach most of the parts of India. So first electricity has to reach, and then those people can use pumps etc. to draw water and irrigate to. So irrigation facility, that is what we are talking. Area under irrigation and irrigation facilities greatly vary from state to state. Today, our 38% of net sown area is under irrigation. If we take net sown area, that is 100%. All over India, wherever seeds are sown, crop is taken, whether that's a plantation crop, whether that's farming, agriculture. If we take that as 100%, out of that, 38% is completely dependent on these irrigation facilities. That means 62% is mainly dependent, or it receives quite a lot of rainfall and they don't need that much irrigation facilities. Out of the total, now we come state-wise, out of the total sown area of Mizoram, only 7.3 area is under irrigation. Because Mizoram, that's part of the ending part of Himalaya, where it's quite hilly region, dense forests are there, so it becomes just absolutely difficult to give them irrigational facilities like making a dam over there and giving them canals. No, you cannot have canals going up and down the mountainside, right? So it's just not possible. So very less area, very flat terrain where irrigation facilities can be given, pumping out of water, and that water, and plus it's a mountainous area and situated in the northeastern part of India. It receives lots of rainfall and does not have any need to give irrigation facilities to this. So it has only 7.3% of its net sown area under irrigation. But when you come to Punjab, when we come to Punjab, of the total net sown area, whole of the Punjab, 90.8%, that means around 91% of area under irrigation, of the net sown area, is under irrigation facilities. That means there are lots of canals, there are lots of wells, bore wells, which pump out water and continue. They don't depend on rain for taking their crop, because these facilities are available. So we can see in Mizoram it is only 7.3%, whereas when we come to Punjab it is 90.8%. A vast difference lies between the total area under irrigation in respect to the total sown area. As we can see, both of them are 100%, because according in Mizoram it will be 100%. Out of that only 7.3% is under irrigation, whereas here also it is 100%. But out of that 100%, 90.8% is under irrigation. So it is worth noting that more than 40% of the area of the total sown area is under irrigation in Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jammu Kashmir, Tamil Nadu and Manipur. Please remember the names of these states, where if you take on an average, at least 40% of that net sown area is under irrigation, whether that is Tamil Nadu, Manipur, Jammu Kashmir, Bihar, whatever. Now we come to a very, very important issue that's very important for you people, because you keep on wasting water. So water crisis and water management, two different topics. First, water crisis. Water crisis is there. Then we come to know about the reasons. What are the reasons for the water crisis? If we know the reasons, then we can do management, water management. Yes, so actually three things are there: water crisis, reasons for water crisis, and solutions to the water crisis, that is water management. Water, we know it's a very valuable resource. Today there is severe crisis, not only in India, all over the world. Yes. What are the reasons? Constant rise in population. As we have learned in the earlier chapters also, approximately 2% population increases every year. Nowadays, because of the coronavirus, every day news flashing that. So all of us now know what is the exact population of India right now. It comes to around 130 crore. 130 crore, 2% increases annually. If it is 130 crore, then 2% of that increases every year. So constant increase in the population. Now how will that give water crisis? Because the population keeps on increasing at a constant speed, pace, more and more population keeps on adding every year, so the demand of water increases. That much supply is not there, then there will be water crisis. Second, demand to grow more food grains and cash crops. As the population keeps on increasing, it creates lots of additional demands because the population is growing. So more people are being added to the population, and that is why more demand of food grains, commodities, grain, cash crops, they come up. To satisfy that, the farmers keep on growing more and more, so they require more and more of water, and that is why water crisis happens. Increasing urbanization. Population increases, so the towns, cities, mega cities, they keep on bulging. Yes, for example, Mumbai, it cannot bulge horizontally, so it bulges vertically, it climbs vertically, right? More population keeps on adding, more population keeps on shifting from the village areas to the town areas in search of jobs, employment, etc. So more and more houses are needed, more and more industrial areas are needed. So urbanization, for increasing urbanization, water is needed for construction purpose, for lots of other activities. Changing lifestyle. If I go even 50 years back, maximum population, they had cycles in their houses. Hardly a few people had scooters and motor cars with them. Now, after 50 years, lifestyle has changed. Each and every house now has 1 or 2 cars and 2 or 3 vehicles, 2-wheelers at home. So the lifestyle has changed. People need bigger houses. Lifestyle has changed. People need to wear clothes for different occasions. Yes, for example, you people change 5 sets of clothes per day, right? So lifestyle has changed. As the lifestyle changes, there is more demand of water. उतने कपड़े ज़्यादा धोना पड़ेगा, उतने बड़े रूम चाहिए तो फिर कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए पानी जाएगा उतना, vehicles धोने के लिए. So in that way, changing lifestyle also increases the demand of water. Next, industrialization. For progress purpose, development purpose, not only to satisfy the demand of the population, but also for the progress of the nation, we need more and more industrialization. For that, we require water. So, because these are common causes, reasons for which water demand increases, and that is why water crisis is faced. We have not yet come to wastage of water, right? We are just talking an overall situation which demands more and more water, and that is why water crisis is faced. The current situation of water supply and the inequality as well as insufficiency in its distribution poses severe problems for livelihood of human beings and economic development. We just were talking about Mumbai. Then in Mumbai, people have to be given water. The population is so huge, it has to be given water. Lots of water resources in and around Mumbai, they are used to provide on a continuous basis, lots and lots of water to the citizens of Mumbai, city of Mumbai. That means there will be a scarcity of water in the nearby areas which are outside Mumbai, because most of the water is used to supply it in the city. So current situation of water supply, and The inequality as well as insufficiency in distribution. Now, what is inequality in distribution of water? As we just talked, Mumbai has to be given water. So water is drawn from outside Mumbai. That means places which are outside Mumbai, they will be having deficiency. Have water for themselves, right? So that is inequality of distribution of water. Inefficiency in its distribution. For example, the pipelines have been laid 40-50 years ago and they are still being used. At lots of places there is a leakage, so water is wasted over there. Or they do not have proper funding so that they can have a very good supply of water, all the resources for supplying water. So inefficiency in its distribution. For example, the city gets all the water, but the nearby villages, they do not get. Why? Because proper system is not laid out for giving tap water to the villages. So that is inequality also, and that is inefficiency of the administration also, which provides water only to the city and does not give proper water supply to the nearby towns and villages. So in this way, water supply, inequality and inefficiency, both, they create lots of problems for the livelihood of the human beings and economic development also. Because water you need at home is for drinking purpose, for washing purpose, domestic use. Second, it is used for industrial purpose. So water is drawn and given to you. But water is more required in the rural area. So if inequality is shown over there, then economic development will happen in the town area, city area, but then economic development will not happen, or it will get hampered because proper water distribution is not there. So economic development also gets hampered. Water crisis is a very serious problem in arid, that is dry areas, for example Rajasthan has, because they do not have proper collection of water. So reaching water to them is a very great problem. Western Rajasthan, as we were discussing, and the interior area of the southern peninsula, this also we have discussed on board, that the shore areas of the peninsula, that is South India, it gets very heavy rainfall, but then when you come to the center of that place, that's devoid of much rain, and so water crisis is felt over there. We need pure potable water. Potable water means pure, safe drinking water for our survival. But the quality of water has deteriorated at many places. This is due to lots of reasons. One of the first reason is industrialization. Because of industrialization, more and more industries, they suck up the groundwater and use it for their industrial purposes, for manufacturing purposes, and the wastewater which is released by them again seeps into the ground, spoiling the quality of the water under the ground. That is the same water which in our home we pump out and use for drinking. So it's quite bad for the health of the people. Moreover, these industries plus the drainage system, all of that, it dumps the dirty water, polluted water in the nearby rivers, ponds, lakes, or the seas, wherever these, and this water again comes back under the ground and it pollutes the groundwater. Next, this results in several waterborne diseases because of dirty water, polluted water. Lots of diseases, skin diseases, disease related to stomach, etc. they caused because of these waterborne diseases. Now, although the government puts hard efforts to increase the facility of potable water, still there exists a large difference between the demand of water and supply. Each and every government, we do not pinpoint governments over here, any specific government, because government changes every 5 year, 3 year, 2 year, whatever. Each and every government which is there, it tries its level best to supply water according to the demand, but every time it fails because of several reasons that we discussed earlier, also increasing population. Every time population every year keeps on increasing, and it becomes very hard for the administration to gather such a great supply of water and give it to the demand that is increasing. So lots of efforts have been put in by the governments, but then still there is a large difference between the demand and the supply. The demand is always high, the supply is always less. Very, very important to note both these points. 8% of India's towns face severe shortage of drinking water. Leave alone agriculture, industrial, domestic use. We are talking here about drinking water. If you take the total towns where the population is less than say 2 lakh, 1 lakh, we are talking about small towns. There are 8% of these total towns in India, they face severe shortage of drinking water. 50% of villages do not get pure drinking water. Of course, they have been using the traditional ways to obtain drinking water. For example, rain falls in their land, which is quite open, not cemented and tarred according to the cities. The fields and open areas, jungles, all of those things are available in the countryside, in the rural area, or we can say the village areas. So the water seeps in the ground and which is almost pure. You can say 99% of that water is pure. But then lots of impurities then get added to that water. The villagers, they are used to use the water from the well, tube well, or wherever nearby they find rivers, etc. They collect water from there and they use it for the drinking purpose. But many times it happens that these sources of water, they are quite polluted and they are forced to use that water, and so it's not a good thing. Then 50% of villages today are still not supplied good, pure, safe drinking water by the concerned authorities, that is governments. Same is the case of water crisis in irrigation. Although we have made very good progress in our irrigational facilities, 2/3 area under agriculture still depends on rainfall. That we discussed when we were discussing about the area under irrigation. Still today, there are lots and lots of areas in regions in India which are totally dependent on rain because irrigational facilities are not there. We can take the example of say Gujarat itself. Most of the rivers which are perennial have lots of water. They are in North Gujarat or towards Maharashtra. We say Sabarmati, Narmada, Tapi, Mahi. Those rivers, they're quite big and they have lots of water. Dams are also over there. When we come to this side, Saurashtra region, Kutch region, we do not have perennial rivers. We are heavily dependent on water, that is rainwater. We have lots of sources where we collect water when the rain comes, and then whole of the year we are dependent on that rainwater, collected rainwater. Nowadays, okay, canals have come from Narmada, Tapi, Mahi, so that we have lots of pure drinking water. Extra water is also given to the farmers for irrigation purpose. So things are settling down in quite a satisfactory manner, but then also we can say that we come under that same 2/3 area of agriculture which still depends on rainwater if we do not have proper irrigational facilities. Now the next topic is reasons for water crisis. As you can see, due to constantly rising population, the demand for water keeps on rising. So we keep on extracting more and more water from the ground through tube wells and wells. As a result, groundwater level has now gone down considerably, and quality and quantity of underground water is decreasing. Now, during the monsoon season, etc., we get lots of water through canals, etc. Irrigation can be done. Off season also, that means without monsoon season, lots of canal water, etc. is used. Irrigation methods are used in Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, in other parts where canals are available with the help of dams that are constructed nearby. So we do use them, but in the city area, in the town area, where the population is quite dense and the water crisis, because of the water crisis, people do not get supply of water constantly from the corporation or the government. In that case, they keep on pumping the groundwater from underground resources. That means underground water keeps on being pumped out for the use of drinking water, domestic use. Industry people, when they do not get sufficient quantity of water from the government, that is from the authorities, they have lots of wells, tube wells in their premises. So they keep on pumping water, and all these pumping out of water from wells and tube wells, there is no accounting for that. There is no means and methods to count how much water, underground water, has been pumped out various places. So because of the rising population, the water demand keeps on rising. The authorities are not able to dispense that much supply to the existing demand. So people draw water from the ground. Now continuously people keep on drawing water from the ground. That depletes the water table, and the water table, the level of water keeps on going down. As the water level keeps on going down, quality of the water also keeps on deteriorating. First thing is, lots of input of pollution is there, so that pollution seeps in and makes the water dirty. Next, if the water table was full, the pollution would have spread, and that would have minimized the danger of pollution, because that would have spread in that complete water table. But now, when the water table has gone down, when the level of underground water has gone down, less water is available, and that too it's polluted. So quality and quantity of groundwater level keeps on going down. Some states of India extract unexpectedly high volumes of water from the ground. This has become a serious problem for the country. For example, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, the central parts of South India, the central India, these are the states that are heavily affected by less rain. Each and every season, monsoon season is not good enough, and they have to rely on the rainwater for the crops, for domestic use, for filling up the surface water. So when that surface water disappears or becomes less, then they have to depend on groundwater. So these states, they keep on pumping lots and lots of water out for agriculture purpose, domestic purpose, industrial purpose, whatever, drinking water. So some of these states, they extract very high volume of underground water, and that is why the underground water level keeps on decreasing, and the quantity and quality both gets affected. Water is also used in very large quantities in industry, that we discussed. Water quality is degraded mainly due to release of dirty water from industrial and household works. Industries, they just flush out the dirty water in the drains, and those drains end up in the nearby water body, and the pollution spreads in the surface water as well as groundwater, because that same water seeps under the ground and is helped to replenish the nearby water levels of the underground water table. So these effluents which are released by the industries, they seep inside the ground and they cause or they pose lots of danger to the pollution, that is the drinking water or industrial use, whatever. The water under the ground gets polluted, and because of that lots of hardships are faced by the people, lots of diseases are spread. Management and water conservation of water resources is the next topic. Maintenance of water resources is known as water conservation. Now, what do we mean by water conservation? How can we conserve water? Water cannot be conserved for a long time. ये नहीं है कि next generation एक bottle बचा के रखूँगा next generation को काम में नहीं, water will get spoiled. So the existing water resources, they have to be maintained so that continuously the cycle keeps on going. By the cycle we mean not only the water cycle, that evaporation happens, the water vapor goes up, becomes clouds, and then again comes down as rain. We are not talking about that water cycle. Water has to be, whatever water is collected on the surface, whatever groundwater is collected, that has to be used so that when rain happens, the fresh water can be again stored. So that is called water conservation. And maintenance of these water resources, it's very, very important. There are two remedies. First, construct more reservoirs for storing water. Reservoirs, what is the meaning of reservoirs? Reservoirs are extra large capacity depressions that are made so that water can get collected over there. These are man-made depressions on the surface of the earth that are made especially to collect rainwater. So more and more reservoirs. Dams are also called reservoirs. The multi-purpose project, they are called reservoirs. So these should be made on a maximum basis so that whatever rainwater, because rain will come and it will flow away in the river and to the nearby sea, it will get dumped and it will be wastage of that rainwater. So better we make more and more reservoirs so that we have lots of water, so that the underground water level will be quite high. Quantity, of course, when it comes high, quantity of water will be, underground water will be more, plus quality of that water will be very good. That is called maintenance. And we use the surface water because there are lots of reservoirs which are available. So maximum people will use those reservoirs, water from the reservoir, for industrial use, domestic use, drinking water, industries. So all of them will be using that surface water because we have lots of it, if we have more reservoirs built. Then next, connect basins of rivers with each other to bring the groundwater at higher level. This is very, very important, and it's a concept which was raised in 1970s, 80s to make a water grid. Now, what is a water grid? We have India, say suppose this is river Ganga, this is river Yamuna, and in the south there are lots of rivers, Krishna, Kaveri. All these rivers, big rivers are there flowing from the Western Ghats. To make a grid, Ganga, Yamuna, here Satluj, Ravi, Beas, these are all snow-fed rivers coming out of the Himalayas. These are southern rivers which do not dry up in summer, but their water level decreases. Now in summer, opposite thing happens over here, because snow melts and that water enters these rivers, and so these waters, they have large volume of, these rivers, they have large volume of water even in summer. In rainy season, these areas, because they come down from mountains, these areas get flooded. Dams are built at regular places. Also, the flood is not contained. We are not control the flood. So, a system of grid should be made so that water from one river can reach, with the help of canals, it can reach these rivers. So, if proper canals etc. are made, then rivers, water from these rivers can reach over here This is to show that we can make a grid. Grid matlab jali, a network. We can make a network of canals which come out from one river and give their water to another river, so that areas lying in between, they will also have sufficient water. We have lots of rivers, big rivers. So if proper connection of canals is existing between these rivers, then the in-between areas which are facing water shortages, water crisis during these off seasons, then they can be helped in getting water throughout the year. So a very good planning is required for this. So connect the basins of rivers with each other. That is the meaning. The basins of the river. Basin is where they are draining, that drainage area of the rivers. So if the grid system is maintained, then water from one river during flood areas, or when the water level in that particular river rises, then gates of those canals can be opened and the excess water can be drained out to another river. So water from one river can be dumped into another river whenever requirement is there, so that the in-between area, their ground level, water level also maintains. Next is watershed development. Watershed development. Watershed is again a concept which should be understood very thoroughly, because this problem keeps on rising, because watershed development is a natural technique for water conservation. Now when we are learning water conservation, then watershed is a very, very important concept which has to be understood first, so that you can write in your own words. Now, what is the meaning of watershed? Watershed development is a natural technique for water conservation. Watershed area is a basin of tributary rivers, not the main rivers. It's a whole network of tributary rivers which dump their water into the main river. Then the area, whole of the area formed by the tributaries and the main river, whole of that area becomes the watershed area. Due to rain, the water flows through the tributary river and meets the main river. The land area then drains the water of tributaries into a particular lake or river, which is called watershed. Now, this is river Ganga, this is river Yamuna. Now the tributaries of Ganga, they are Gandak, Khadar and Kosi, comes down from Nepal and dump their water into Ganga. Same way in Yamuna, the Chambal river, the Son river, there is a small river over here, Betwa, and which dumps water right over here somewhere in Yamuna. These are the tributaries. Now rainfalls in the Himalayas, the volume of Ganga river already rises because of the rainwater, plus river Gandak, Gaggar and Kosi, volume of these rivers also increase because of the rain. So in these places, these are the places where something can be done so that the rainwater which drains and goes away uselessly into the river, and the river goes and meets the Bay of Bengal. All the water that falls in this complete area, drains and meets river Chambal, Chambal meets river Yamuna, Yamuna meets river Ganga, and then flows off in the Bay of Bengal. We can any use of that water which has fallen in the in-between areas. If trees are grown over here, some small check dams etc. are made over here, some lakes etc. are made over here, so that water can be kept at this place rather than flowing into the river. These are the tributaries. The tributaries dump their water into the main river. The main river, then this also is a tributary, it dumps in Ganga. So this whole of this area, this is watershed. We cannot do anything to Ganga river, Yamuna river, or when both these rivers meet over here and come a single river and then go and meet in the Bay of Bengal. We cannot do anything to these waters, but we can certainly do to the areas, land areas which are quite open in between them. So lot of activity here which will stop surface runoff of the rainwater and help to go under the ground, seep under the ground and raise the underground water level. So the things that can be done over here, all of those activities come in the watershed development. So this basin, this is the complete basin that we are talking about, the main river plus the tributaries. Then this is the basin which we are talking, because whole of this area is drained by the main river plus the tributary river. Drained means यहाँ पे पानी बहता है, जब बारिश आता है तो पानी बहता है. अब यहाँ का पानी कहाँ जाएगा? या तो गंगा में जाएगा या तो गग्गर या गंडक में जाएगा. So something has to be done in these areas which fall in between the tributary and the main river, so that the water stops over here and it seeps into the ground and raises the underground water level, so that this short of water or water crisis can be controlled. So what are the different activities that can be done in this watershed area which can develop this watershed area? So watershed development include programs like preservation of soil and humidity. Soil can be preserved, otherwise the rain will fall and the topsoil will be taken away by that heavy rain. It will be dumped into the river. River will take it down as a silt and dump it in the next river. So if something is done, suppose trees are grown in these areas, then what will happen? It will not allow the topsoil to go away and it will preserve the soil. And if the water goes inside the ground, then of course humidity which is inside the ground, that moisture which is inside the ground, will help the vegetation to grow. So the area will become green. It will, if there are farms over there, then it will have lots of underground water, and humidity is present in the ground, then it will also be helpful for the crop to grow. Water conservation can be done automatically. We are conserving water, saving water. Tree plantation can be done. As we just discussed, trees, they help to stop the flow of the surface runoff, and it will also help the water to go on under the ground. Forestation, because constant water is available, and that too in the form of underground water plus humidity, so area will be quite green and it will have lots of more trees growing, so we can have forestation. Horticulture, plants, shrubs that are grown in the forest by the forest department, or we can say the nursery where plants are grown, that horticulture can be done. Development of pastures, whichever area they are remaining free, but now they have lots of greenery over there because we have made the surface runoff slow, so water goes inside, humidity is there, so grass will go, so it will be an open pasture land for the nearby human settlement which have lots of milching animals, sheep, goat, etc. So for them it becomes a pasture. Collective water conservation, by what we saw, because of all this everybody is working, so it's a collective effort for water conservation. Under this program, the capacity of land and local requirement has to be taken care of. The capacity of the land, it has to be taken care of. Then local requirement. Suppose in hilly area, villages are here and they're located quite far away from each other. So local requirement also has to be kept in mind while trying to do this watershed development. Local people should be made to participate in the program. Local people should be encouraged so that they participate in this program. Yes, on one side we are growing more and more trees, and on the other side if they are cutting off the trees for their requirement, then it's of no use. So local people should be encouraged, they should be made aware about the program that is being conducted, watershed development program that is conducted. The state and the central government have planned many schemes to conserve water in this format, watershed development. Continuously the state government, the central government, they're continuously after water conservation, and lots of programs are going on in these basin areas where water drains from the nearby tributary into the main river, so that the in-between area we can help the water, the surface runoff, to stop and allow the water to go into the ground.